Hi, I'm Andrew Spainhower with McMullen Injury Law, and I want to talk you through one of the most important phases of your personal injury case, which is the treatment phase. People have a lot of questions during this phase, and it's key to how your case will go. One issue that comes up right away is the immediacy of seeking medical treatment after your injury. When you get hurt, the insurance company will anticipate or expect that if you got hurt, that you would have sought medical care right away, and they will use that against you when you don't. So oftentimes, sometimes people, particularly in Utah, tend to be, a little bit on the conservative side, and that might be with their medical care too. And sometimes we don't, want to call attorneys right away, and sometimes we don't even want to call doctors right away and try to sweep things under the rug. This will not help your case. You want to go and get access to medical resources right away after an injury to get fully and properly diagnosed and to figure out a recommended care plan as to what are your options to try to get back to full health. One of the most important decisions that you'll make during the treatment process and during a personal injury case in general is which medical providers do you need to see? Where do you seek treatment? That's something that is up to you. But is very important. And if you need access to referrals, you can certainly discuss that with your primary care doctor, with other doctors that you trust, and get the input of your attorney if you like as well. But the most important thing there is that you're seeing the right types of medical professionals for the right types of injuries that you have, meaning chiropractic can be great. For neck and back whiplash or for other conditions. Chiropractors, though, they're not heart surgeons, right? So that not every medical provider knows every area of the body and gives all treatments. And so you really want to be able to see a variety of medical professionals that are right for the injuries that you suffered. If you have a shoulder injury, you're going to want to see a shoulder doctor, which is an orthopedic. If you see you have a foot injury, you're going to want to see a podiatrist or an orthopedic that has a specialty in ankles and foot and ankle. Those are the types of things to watch for. And if you are seeking treatment with one provider and not improving at the rate that you would like, not feeling like that you're getting better, or that perhaps they're fully aware and getting you fully diagnosed, you may want to get a second opinion. If you're seeing a physical therapist or chiropractor, you may want to get a second opinion from an MD. You may want to consider, do you need additional diagnostic imaging? Talk about that with your doctors. X-rays can help diagnose certain things, whereas for other injuries, only an MRI could get us really an answer on what's going on, for example, in your neck. And so those things are very, very important, not only for two things. One, most importantly, getting you healed and back to full health, regardless of the injury that you sustained, but also two, on the legal and financial end, those things are going to make our job a lot easier and have big ramifications on how well we're able to tell your story and properly represent what happened to you from that injury. It's also very important that your care is continuous. For the same reason that you want to start care right away, if you stop getting treatment for a time, you've got other stresses in your life, other things that you need to deal with, the insurance companies will use that against you. They call it a gap in treatment, meaning that on paper, it looks like you healed and got all better and didn't need any more medical care, and then suddenly here you are months later showing back up at the doctor saying, I've still got this problem. The insurance company will argue that something else happened to you. They'll get on your social media. They'll try to make it seem like, well, the injuries from the crash were better, and now a new thing is going on. And so you got to be mindful of that. We don't want people to have to go get any medical care at all that they don't want and need, but we do want you to see the right types of medical providers and then to follow the best treatment protocols to make sure you get proper healing. The biggest question that oftentimes people on as the patient would have during that process is, how do I pay for all that? That can get complicated. We only get a check from the at-fault insurance at the end of the case, right? They pay once to be done with you essentially, and you can't come back looking for more. And so in the short term, to get healed and to be able to pay for the care that you need, there's a variety of tools that you would have access to. The first and kind of primary place we would look is if there's medical payments coverage, which if you're in a car accident in Utah, that would be called PIP. But that's essentially the first immediate payer after an incident, if it exists, if it's applicable, and will pay for medical coverage regardless of who's at fault. We would use our own vehicles if this was from an automobile crash. If you were, bitten by a dog, the homeowner's insurance of that dog owner, their MedPay would kick in first to cover immediate bills. But the limits on those things are typically relatively low. Could be 1 to 5,000. With cars, the minimum required in Utah is 3,000 for a PIP. So that would be the first place you would go. And if and when that amount was exhausted, there's other tools. That's when your health insurance, for example, if you have health insurance, would turn back on. So if your health insurance gets a bill from the ER, after a car accident or other injury, they would initially deny, because the bill is marked as auto-related. So you have to follow the proper order, because once you show your health insurance that, hey, my PIP was used as it was supposed to be and ran out, then the health insurance would turn back on and start treating you like they would with any other injury or illness that you had going on. But that could still be problems. Many folks don't have health insurance. There can be co-pays and deductibles that can be expensive. And one thing that we want to be able to do as your attorney is give you the ability to get proper medical care while coming as out of pocket as minimally as possible. And the third tool is really the way that we accomplish that, which is called attorney liens. An attorney lien is essentially an agreement between you as the patient, your personal injury attorney, and the medical provider that says, don't have the patient cash pay each visit as they go and then have to wait, potentially months or years to get their money back. Instead, the doctor agrees to wait. You don't cash pay at time of visit. They won't send you to collections. They'll send a copy of the bill to the attorney. And if and when we get a settlement at the end of the case, that's when the doctor would be paid. So they agree to wait, and it allows you to be able to get the care you need with, coming out of pocket minimally. One thing you want to be mindful of when you're seeking medical care is that you want to be open and honest with your medical providers. Their care can only be as good as the information that they're given. And so you want to be able to be open and honest with them. Don't hide things from them, and also make sure that you mention things to them that you should be. If you're seeing somebody for, neck pain for several months and your knee has been bothering you the whole time and you're not mentioning that doctor's not going to be able to help address your knee or refer you to the type of doctor who could address your knee. And so good, clear communication is extremely important. There is no need to hide things from medical providers. We do not want that. We want you to get proper care. And the only way that can be done is if you're being transparent about, what you're experiencing. The best person to, help diagnose yourself, as long as you get to the right professionals, is you, because you know what you're going through and the pain that you feel. Throughout that process, you want to document your journey. Some people like to keep a journal. That's not necessary, but it can be helpful. One thing that is very important, though, is that you do keep in contact with your attorney. If you disappear for months on end and we can't get a hold of you and we don't hear from you, you've switched medical providers, you've moved and we're not in contact with you, that can cause a lot of problems later. So you'll want to keep in continuous contact with your attorney's office so they can be aware of how you're doing, and we'll want to know what important updates are happening. What did the MRI show? Do we now have a new plan or prognosis for you as to how to get you back to health? We want to keep on the same page and keep in communication. A few other frequently asked questions people will have during this phase is what happens if I miss an appointment? No, not the end of the world. It is not good. When you miss an appointment, for one, it can cause problems with the medical provider, particularly if they've agreed to see you on an attorney lien and wait, potentially months to get paid for their service. You want to be honest and reliable in your relationship with them, and so constantly missing appointments can jeopardize that and can potentially make it so they aren't able to see you. These doctors are also running businesses and keep schedules, so we want to be able to make it to our appointments whenever we can, but also for you, for your healing and for how your case will turn out, it's not great to be missing appointments. If you go weeks at a time without the care, it might stop your progress of your body's natural healing process. And two, it will look bad on paper to the insurance company because it'll look like you're irresponsible, and it will look like your treatment is not very important because sometimes you just don't bother to show up. Along those same lines, another problem that can happen is if you stop treating early. So you want to be able to make those decisions with your doctor, meaning how are you doing? How close are you to 100%? What additional treatment would be best for you? How much longer does the doctor think that you need to seek treatment? You want to be able to communicate with your doctor and decide those things together as far as what's best for you. We don't want you out there having to get care that you don't want or need. But when you unilaterally decide to stop going, that can be a big problem both for your healing and also for your personal injury case. A third big question that people will have during their treatment process is what happens with future recommended treatment by your doctor. When you see a specialist for the right, area of your body that's injured from whatever happened to you, and they recommend some type of procedure or whatever it might be, we want you to be able to have the freedom to do that or not do that. And we want to be able to support you either way. You don't have to get every treatment or protocol or procedure that's recommended for you, but we do want you to at least see those right types of doctors and be properly diagnosed so that you know the likely outcomes based on if you choose to do that procedure or not, what the cost would be, your comfort level with that procedure, what are the expected outcomes. Sometimes the benefits of a procedure will greatly outweigh the risks and will also greatly outweigh the cost. And sometimes that might not be the case, and it's on an individual basis. But the most important thing is when you see a doctor and he's recommending a future procedure, if there's any question in your mind about it at all, we want you to keep your attorney updated on it and communicate back and forth on that. Perhaps get a second opinion from another medical provider, and we want you to be empowered to be able to make that decision about what's best for you.